This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report, the boys are back and Beantown isn't Boston anymore. We're driving slow and gawking at the neighbor's field on the Four Rivers Ag Report monthly crop survey. Coming up next. Welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. Well, this week is our monthly crop survey, and it shows that most of our farmer friends have been really busy. The NASS released their weekly crop report, and as in past weeks, it shows that plants a pretty advanced planting schedule. Corn reported is 95% planted as opposed to 65% for the 5-year average and 60% last year. Corn emerged is reported to be 76%, which is much higher than was reported last year. Soybeans are 45% planted. So how do we compare? Well, the East-Southeast District reports 93% corn planted, 83% corn emerged, and 50% beans planted and 16% emerged. Those numbers pretty much jive with what we've been seeing, but just how reliable are those numbers? On the May 11th USDA crop report shows a very big corn crop. Very big. So big that some people in the trades are wondering why. Todd Gleason took a look at the calculations and has this report.
USDA has for several years in its May report used a relatively small number of years to calculate trend yield. The USDA trend yield for corn normally includes all years from 1990 forward. It adjusts that trend to include a good or bad start to the growing season. This year it added 2 bushels for the early planting of the corn crop. Still, this last report was different, says University of Illinois ag economist Daryl Good.
Change they made is that they did not use 2011 in calculating the historic trend yield. They stayed with the 1990 through 2010 actual yields and then projected that trend 2 years forward to 2012.
Good, a number cruncher, thinks the 2011 crop year should have been used to calculate the national trend yield for corn in the United States.
But 2011 by no means was an outlier year. It was a low-yielding year, but certainly within the realm of possibility and reflected mostly lack of ideal summer weather conditions, which clearly can happen again in any year.
So while it did not happen this way, Daryl Good thinks it would be logical to include 2011 in any analysis of trend yield in the U.S. For University of Illinois Extension, I'm Todd Gleason.
Enough with the USDA numbers. How are our guys doing? Who are our guys? Well, last month we started the Four Rivers Ag Report monthly crop survey, and by calling 7 different farmers from different areas in our district. Well, they made the mistake of not changing their phone numbers because we called them again. We'll be doing this every month during the planting season to keep an eye or ear on how things are looking closer to you. With me now is Matt Bennett in Shelby County, and Matt, you were one of the early ones last month, got in, right?
Yeah, we got in, started there in the end of March, so 28th is when we started, and had most of our corn planted by about the 6th or 7th.
So how are things looking?
Our crop looks fantastic. We've had a couple of ponds because of excessive rain that we had to spot in with our small corn planter, and generally we have several acres that we have to spot in somewhere because of either a beaten rain or too much rain, and this year we just had hardly any, so it's really been a great start to the spring so far for us.
So your corn's all in? Are most of your beans in?
Yeah, we'll be done with beans tomorrow.
So how far along is the corn? Are you thinking about any post-emergence work?
Most of the corn that we have is, getting close to knee-high already. It's fairly good size, and we've sprayed...
Nowhere near the 4th of July, bud.
No, we've sprayed most of it. We're going to be finishing up spraying all of our corn by the end of this week. So, we're getting to the point where if we wait too much longer, the rows are going to be shaded in, and we won't be able to get through it without tearing corn up. So.
Okay. So have you noticed any sort of pests? There was a black cutworm concern.
Yeah, we really haven't. Since everything was so green so early this year, we put a little insecticide with some chemical right off the bat whenever we worked it in, and then that was going to provide a little bit of a residual effect on our chemical, and then take care of all the pests. And we haven't had anything that we've had to spray. We haven't seen a whole lot of evidence, but I know a lot of our neighbors that didn't spray an insecticide have seen a fair amount of evidence of those working, and some of them have had to spray for it.
With your beans done tomorrow, what are you thinking about? Doing in the next couple of weeks?
Well, there's a variety of things that we can do, but we're doing a little bit of hay cutting and getting hay baled, and going to be looking at doing a fair amount of mowing. And once we get all the spraying done, then it's just basically kind of sit and see what happens.
And now we go to Effingham County, and with me is Todd West of Wachtel Farms, just west of Lake Sarah. And Todd, you guys down south got a pretty early start, didn't you?
We did. We actually planted more corn in March this year than we've ever planted before, and it was a little bit of a struggle to decide to plant before the insurance replant date. But as it turned out, we probably should have planted all of it in March, and because our March corn looks a little better than the corn we planted a couple days after Easter. So, but yeah, we finished corn earlier this year than we've ever finished before.
How about on your beans?
We should finish up beans today, and then we should finish up corn spraying in the next 2 or 3 days too, post-emergence corn spraying. And in the next couple of weeks, we'll spend time mowing road ditches, getting caught up on that because they're all about 3 foot tall now. And we'll start we're going to apply an extra shot of urea over the top of some of our corn just to give it a boost.
Okay. Don't you wish you could harvest your road ditches, don't you?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you put on the post-emergence. Have you noticed any sort of pests around? Cutworm?
We've been looking because all the universities and a lot of the retailers were saying that the moth catches, the black cutworm moth catches, were higher this year than they've ever seen before. But we have not seen much feeding, so I don't know. Most of our cornfields were pretty clean, so I don't know if that saved us a little bit. But not as far as pests. We haven't seen any, haven't heard of any. But it was high time for some of the post-emergence herbicides to get sprayed. The weeds started growing as soon as the 80-degree temperatures came back. So
how you mentioned you've already done the post-emergence. How tall was your corn when you put it on there?
Well, it varies a little bit, but anywhere between 6 and 10 inches mostly.
So you're almost knee-high also.
Yeah. Some of our early corn would probably be knee-high this weekend, I would guess.
So did you have to? You mentioned you got paused. You got stopped with rain there for a while, both with your corn planting and your bean planting. Did you have to do any replant work?
We'll probably end up spotting in about 20 acres of corn, mostly in some of the bottom ground that we farmed that just planted that day or two after Easter, and then it got cold and we got rained on, and it was just a little bit spotty emerging there. But other than that, we've had real good stands, and we're hoping we won't have any replant beans either because the forecast looks like most of the beans should be almost out of the ground before the next forecasted rain.
Okay, how's the soil moisture?
Changing quickly. 2 or 3 days ago, we were struggling to find fields that would work, and then the next day it's almost can't hardly find moisture to plant the beans in.
Well, good luck with that. So thank you, Todd. I'll talk to you in about a month.
All right, thanks a lot.
Now we go up the road to Coles County and Bill Uphoff, who farms near Mattoon. And Bill, you actually are in the driver's seat, aren't you?
Yes. Today we're side dressing nitrogen to standing corn and enjoying the sunshine, and hope that also there's a rain cloud behind it in the near future.
Well, to the west, is there anything staring at you?
Not that we're aware of in the near term, but we've got a chance for a week from today that's looking like it might get together. So we're hanging our hat and praying for that one.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. I think almost everybody would appreciate that.
Indeed.
So how do your crops look?
Better than we deserve, Fred. The corn that was planted last day of March into that very first week of April now is approaching the V8 stage. Which simply means that there's 8 visible leaf collars showing on the corn stalk itself. It's just a fancy way that some smart agronomists come up with that, and I like it. It's really simple. It just means V is the number of leaf collars, and that takes you all the way up through plant maturity. And once you reach plant maturity, then it gets fits into the physiological maturity of the grain itself.
Well, I'm going to drop that term and sound smart myself. So, so you got all your corn in. Do you have most of your beans?
We do. We're about, right now at this very minute, 95% completed. My brother's in the planting tractor along with our Jeff, who's disking in front of him. So they ought to finish that up this evening.
So you got done beans. Now, what are you doing in your field right now?
Right now we're putting on ammonia, actually running through the standing corn and side dressings, the additional nitrogen units that it takes to finish it out now.
Okay. So, a lot of concern from the ag extension folks about cutworms. Have you seen any evidence of?
We have.
You have?
Yes. We've had to spray 7% of our corn acres for cutworms. And the reason we did that wasn't necessarily because the cutworm infestation was terrible, but the corn had also been hit by some cold weather. So we had lost some plants from the cold, and we couldn't afford to lose any more. So then it merited a rescue spray treatment.
Okay. Now you've already said you want some moisture. Did you have any land that was hit hard by that heavy rain around Easter?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you have to do any replanting?
Yeah, in fact, there's some low areas that have been planted now 3 times. The rains that came the last weekend of April and then the first day of May, that pretty well sealed the deal on a lot of the low, poorly drained fields in this area, particularly in the Route 16 corridor. They got hit pretty hard right through there.
Okay. Well, so you're getting the last of the beans in. Hopefully you don't have to replant any more corn ever again this season.
That is our hope.
Okay. So what are you planning on doing the next couple of weeks then?
We'll finish up our nitrogen. We'll then, wait and see how our bean stands get established. Be a lot of scouting going on this time. While the corn's still in this young, early stage, there's still many pests and weeds that we need to be on the lookout for.
Okay.
We need at least 4 beans per foot of row in our 15-inch rows to merit an established stand. So we'll be scouting for those in the next couple of weeks very commonly.
Okay. So your beans, have they emerged? They haven't emerged yet?
Some have.
Some have. Okay.
Our first planted beans are up, and we can row them and just tickle to death with those, yes.
Well, let's hope you keep rolling 7s, all right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred.
Now we head on over to Cumberland County, where if we go halfway between Toledo and Greenup, we just might meet Leroy Scott. Hey, Leroy, you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. So, Leroy, first of all, how's everything looking for you?
Well, it's been a couple dry weeks here, and things have really progressed well. We've got got the anhydrous on the corn, and we got finished up the bean planting, and things are doing well.
So, how many more beans do you have?
We're done planting beans.
Oh, you're done with beans. Okay, so you're way ahead of the. Oh no, you're not that way ahead of the curve. So, how's the corn looking?
Our corn really is growing and looking good. This warmer weather's really improved it. It was showing some stress there earlier from the cold weather, but now it's just really come out of it and looking a lot better.
Now, you're saying that you really wouldn't mind having some moisture visit us. Did you get the heavy rains around Easter time?
We had some rain around Easter, but the last rain we had was the 1st of May. We got 1 inch and 2/10, and then the 3rd of May we got 3/10, and so that's the last rain we've had. So yes, we could use the rain right now. The ground's beginning to get dry.
Okay. So the corn's emerged. The soybeans are in. Have they emerged?
A few, but they went in basically in the last week, and so they're just now coming.
They're just now popping out of the ground a little bit. Okay, so now there's been some concerns about some pests. Have you seen any cutworm?
We put down an insecticide for cutworms as we put the chemical on to pre-emergent on we planted, and the corn is we've not had a problem.
Okay, good.
Talk about that, but I haven't had a problem.
Oh, that's good. So the corn's in, beans are in. You're not worried about cutworm, and you could use some moisture. Is that pretty much it?
That's pretty well summarized.
Okay, so what you planning on doing the next couple of weeks?
Well, now we'll start on the mowing and cleaning up the roadsides and all the maintenance on the machinery, and just start washing things and cleaning up and put it away.
So you'll be a good neighbor again with a nicely mowed ditch.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Scott. We'll be talking to you soon, okay?
Okay. Have a good day.
And right across the Coles County line in Edgar County is our friend Cam Browne. And Cam, how are your crops looking?
Well, I'm pretty satisfied. I waited and planted the third week of April.
Okay, so you waited. I believe you said you were waiting for the ground temps to come up a bit.
Well, I was, and hopefully the weather and the overnight temperatures would get a little better. And we still had some cool temperatures, but all the corn went in really nice, and we ended up, luckily, with really nice stands.
So how's it looking? I'm sure it's emerged by now, but how's it looking?
Yes, well, pretty good. I'm very satisfied with the corn.
You know, about how tall is it, do you think?
Well, it's about 8 inches tall.
Oh, that's pretty decent.
Right now.
So did you get that? Did you get a lot of that rain around the end of the month?
We didn't. We haven't had any.
Oh, so you could use a little bit of moisture then.
We sure could. We sure could. If I was smart enough, I'd have planted the beans the same time I did the corn. I waited a couple of weeks and put the beans into good moist conditions. Of course, now I'm no-till, so my soil was undisturbed.
Okay.
I planted them about 1.25 inches deep.
Okay.
And into plenty of moisture, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding places here and there where beans are laying in dry dirt. It was,
wow.
Pulled the moisture back out, or maybe my planter just didn't do a good job sealing. I don't know, but it's going to take a rain for some. Most are coming.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'd certainly like to see a shower too, just along with everybody else.
A shower would be nice.
It sure would.
Okay. Hey, there's been some concern about some earlier visits by pests than normal, particularly the cutworm. Have you seen any evidence around it in your corn?
Well, I haven't, and as you know too, the bug pressure is really heavy just walking outside of an evening. So far, fortunately,
right.
I haven't seen anything working, and we'll just keep an eye on it. I'm close to spraying this corn first time, and I'll get a good look at all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just wait and see. With the mild winter temperatures, we're certainly going to have bug pressure.
Yeah, we're going to have bug pressures. I think I'm doing my job by just driving around around at night.
Yes.
My windshield shows it. So, Cam, what are you thinking about doing the next couple of weeks?
Hopefully, I'm thinking about getting a rain on it.
Well, if you figure out how to custom order one, let me know.
And we're going to be crossing the crops with the sprayers and getting some early weed control. I noticed the weeds are doing a real good job.
Yeah, don't you wish you could harvest those?
Boy, no kidding. My job would be easy until I wanted it.
So, okay.
It's been an interesting spring.
It's been an interesting winter and spring, don't you think?
It sure has.
Well, thank you, Cam. We'll be talking to you again in next month, and hopefully we'll have a wetter, healthier crop for you.
Okay. Well, I hope so, too. Thank you.
Thank you. And we head now to Shelby County, and we find Tim Lenz, and he farms southeast of Strasburg. And Tim, how's the season been going for you?
Pretty good. Of course, as started great. The earliest, warmest, driest March that I can remember.
Yeah.
So things got off to a good start. We've had a few rains in between, but really nothing too bad.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks ago, we had around an inch and a half that came kind of hard that created a little bit of crusting. A few people have spotted in a little bit of corn.
Okay.
Caused a little bit of beans maybe to be replanted, but very few. And since then, we've been pretty clear. In fact, now we're, you're always a week or 10 days away from a drought, I guess, when you get into lighter soils that we're in. And so, we could take a shower. It doesn't seem like a
really you're not the first one of my friends here who have mentioned that good, well-timed rain would be very much appreciated.
Exactly.
So how's your corn looking? Has it emerged with vigor?
Yeah, and as dry and warm as we were, I was hoping we wouldn't go in kind of that swoon a little bit where it goes from getting the nutrients from the seed to the roots taking up the nutrients. It seems like you always get a kind of a yellowing color, you lose the dark green before it starts taking nitrogen from the soil. But we've kind of gone through that a little bit, especially, and that hard pounding rain didn't help. It kind of makes the soils tight and can't get air down the roots and things. But it's starting to grow out of that. We're anywhere from 18 inches tall in the very early to most of it's probably around a foot tall. So we're getting to that point where it's starting to take up nitrogen and look a little bit better.
Oh, that's good. So have you applied any extra nitrogen, or have you done any post-emergence work?
I'm actually going back and putting a little bit of nitrogen on here, side dressing, and it's kind of a good way to get across the fields and kind of scout them, and kind of opens up the ground a little bit,
right.
And you give it a little shot of nitrogen here. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing now.
Speaking of scouting, have you noticed any cutworms or any other pests hanging around?
Not lately. Earlier there were a few, and everyone, the moth flights, I think, were
they were reported pretty high.
Exactly, and everyone kind of got worried about it. Now the corn's big enough. I always, when it starts getting bigger, they're going to have to eat. They don't have to eat as many plants to get full. So hopefully, your economic damage is less.
Right.
But, it seems like we dodged the bullet on that.
So, and your beans are all in, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, had a few south of where I live, a little ways that they'd caught another rain last week, and just finished those yesterday. I was actually waiting for it to dry a little bit. But otherwise, we've been generally done for about a week or so on.
And now all the way up by Sador's on the banks of the beautiful Kaskaskia River is our friend Bob Stein. Bob, how are your crops looking?
Well, Fred, we are still planting beans. We're probably about a couple days from being finished. And we're taking our time, working the ground cautiously to try to preserve the moisture.
So moisture is an issue for you up there?
It has been, and it has been all spring. But we have been fortunate enough to get some rain along the way and really got more than our share the last time around compared to some of the other areas.
So did you have to do any replanting?
No, we have not had to do any replanting at all. And unlike last year, that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. So, so your corn's all in, and you're going to finish up beans. When do you think about?
We will probably finish Saturday.
Oh, that's
good. We need a couple of days to finish.
Okay, so you'll be about all done. Any field work you got planned on doing then after?
Well, we are thinking about side dressing some nitrogen. It's an optional program because I think we have our basic needs covered, but we're thinking about another application to see if we can get a yield benefit from it.
Sure. So, speaking of yield benefits, have you? We've heard the notorious cutworm is out and about. Have you seen any evidence?
We have done some scouting, and because we're growing non-GMO corn, we might be more of a target than some of the traded hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been scouting, and so far we haven't seen any problem.
So you sound like you guys are in pretty good shape. After the beans are in, any plans for the next couple of weeks? What's the next stage for you?
Well, we are probably going to wind up the spraying. We do some pre-emerge spraying soybeans, and we're doing that just shortly after they're then after we get this soybean planting complete, then all we have to do is worry about the emergence and then scouting the soybeans to watch for insects.
Yeah, that's all right. You know, and hope for rain, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And sounds like next week we're going to have a pretty good opportunity for rain, at least the early part of the week.
I think we're all crossing our fingers for that one, though, Bob.
Well, we are, and of course there's always that subconscious concern that is it going to stay on the dry side, and if so, are we going to get charged up enough to be able to get to the next rain event?
Well, thanks, Bob, and thanks to all of our crop watchers. We'll be doing this monthly. Next time is scheduled on June 15th. So if you happen to see one of our guys, buy them a cup of coffee. They deserve it. Well, that's it for this week. Work hard, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful sunsets. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report.